What is going on, guys? Welcome back to Copyright, and today's video is from BestOfRedditorUpdates. So let's get into it, shall we? Our first story comes from Throwaway Mom, who is the original OP, and I just want to give a warning that this story does include child neglect and also domestic violence. Just to let you guys have a heads up on that. Timestamps in the bottom as always. Wife gets home from work to discover husband is willfully neglected their children. I'm leaving him. This is the last effing straw. Worked a long shift, came home, and there was trash and food everywhere. My child, 8-male, runs up to me covered in stains and baby formula, saying sis is crying real bad. She's hungry. I'm sorry. I tried to feed her. I rush in the nursery, and sure enough, my daughter's diaper is full. She's screaming and crying, face red, literally still in a crib. The room is messy with baby formula and chips. I later learned from my son that he tried to make a bottle for her, but didn't know how, so he tried to feed her potato chips to calm her down, but she couldn't eat them. He'd been trying to open the door to me and my husband's room, but it was locked the whole time, while he was in there sleeping. I asked him if he ate, and he said not really, just chips, and he tried to take all the food out the fridge to make something to eat. After feeding and changing my 6-month-old, I literally almost tore the bedroom door down trying to get to him to open it, and he opens the door all groggy and says, "What do you want?" Clearly annoyed, I tear him a new one and scream at him that our children haven't eaten all day because he's a lazy ass, couldn't wake up and care for them. He just stares at me dumbfounded. He's like, "Oh my bad, I thought they ate before you went to work." I'm crying at this point. He stayed up all night playing video games and promised he'd wake up and stay up for the kids. I should have known better. I told him I wasn't gonna get our kids taken away because of him and that we were over. I'm shaking. Literally have I never been so mad in my life, and all he can say is sorry. I don't know where I'm going, but I have to leave. I hugged my son, told him he did his best, and I was so proud of him for taking care of his sister. So sad he even had to do that. Edit, if you say, well, you chose to have kids with him, you're just as bad for choosing to have kids with him. I know you're not an adult or lack critical thinking skills. Update, 1 day later. I tried to update as quickly as I could. Thank you for your patience. Look at my profile for first one. I asked him to leave the apartment. We're both on the lease technically, but I really didn't care at that point. Said he needed to leave or I'd tell the police that he failed to care for our 2 children. He got super angry with me, said it was a mistake and it wouldn't happen again. I said I didn't care, pack your crap and go stay with your dad. Needless to say, after some intense arguing, he went on a rampage, destroying stuff around the apartment. TV, dishes, mirrors. He made a complete mess of our room and living room. I just let him. I was recording everything anyways. My son came out asking what's going on, and I told him to lock himself in the nursery with his sister. I didn't think he would try to do anything to them, but I've read way too many stories. I had to stop recording to call the police. I yelled at him to calm down because the police were on the way, and all I will say is he put his hands on me and I had to fight him off. I apologise if this is triggering at all. I'm trying to water it down. He did get arrested and all 3 of us are relatively unharmed. I just have some light bruises on my arm. My mom is taking the kids so I can attempt to get the apartment cleaned and replace what I can afford. Sorry this isn't the happy ending you were all wanting. I felt as though it was important to update since so many of you were worried, but we are fine. My son is just being oddly quiet and I feel awful. Hopefully I can take him out for a treat or something soon when I get this mess sorted out. I probably won't respond to many comments as I'm very tired and stressed. It's taking so much energy to even type this. Sorry if it's not the best written update. I tried. Thank you for your support. Better days are ahead hopefully. And I'm just sorry OP that you and your family had to go through that. You know, you and your kids. That sounds absolutely awful that you had to go through this. And your son had to witness and listen to what was happening with you and your ex in the argument. But we're going to move into the comments now. Crepuscular says, original OP's poor son probably thinks this is all his fault. That wouldn't have happened if he'd been better at taking care of his sister. At least the useless ex-husband probably doesn't have a chance of getting any custody. What a mess. And someone replies that with, really upset at the thought of him in the nursery, cowering in the corner with his baby sister, listening to smash, crap and hurt his mum. And another commenter says, As someone who grew up listening to this type of stuff almost every night for 10 years, I'm incredibly happy for him that it was only one night. It would be absolutely awful in the moment, but it will fade in time. And I agree with the final commenter on that. What happened was absolutely awful and should never have happened. But hopefully that the police were there, they got arrested, that there's documentations of the abuse and everything. He will never get near you or those kids again, and you'll be safe and not have to deal with him, because he's just an awful human being. It would be bad enough if he just neglected his children. That's horrible enough on its own, but the fact that he laid hands on you and scared the kids that much just makes him even more despicable. This next story was originally posted on Am I the Arsehole and comes from a throwaway account. Am I the arsehole for not wanting to use my college fund to pay for my brother's treatment? My parents divorced when I was about 7 because my dad had admitted to having an affair. My mum and I moved out of our house and into an apartment, while my dad immediately moved his mistress into our house because she was pregnant with my twin brothers. My mum was devastated, but she quickly picked herself up for us. She went back to school, and as a result, she continued climbing up in her career. My mum adjusted better to going from a double income household to a single income, and was able to contribute a substantial amount of money to my college fund. My dad, on the other hand, had a harder time, as he now has to support a family of 4, sometimes 5, on a single income, as his wife is a stay-at-home mum. My dad did not have much disposable income, and so did not contribute as much to the fund. I'm going to finish school soon, and I have a good shot at getting into my first choices of college. Unfortunately, my brother 10 male was diagnosed with a kidney disease, which has progressed to where he needs to be on dialysis. My dad is drowning in medical debts, so my mum agreed he no longer needs to pay child support. I suppose that OP's mum, the original OP's mum, was so kind to do that, to waive child support, but I do disagree with the decision. I know why she did it, obviously because of the medical debts and everything, but I do still disagree with the decision. The specialist had suggested a different treatment for my brother, as most other treatments didn't help or stopped working, and they are running out of options short of a transplant. Not doable at this time. This treatment is not covered by insurance and costs a lot. My dad didn't take out a loan due to debt. Dad and his wife sat me down when I was over and asked if I would be willing to let them borrow my college fund to pay off my brother's treatment. They offered to pay the money back, but I knew they wouldn't be able to. I really don't want to give them the money because I know if I don't get any scholarships, I won't be able to go to college. I want to go without going into debt myself. My future would be at risk, and I know my dad wouldn't help if I needed it. In addition, the money technically belongs to my mum. I can't just give it away, and I know she will refuse to give them the money. My dad and his wife are furious at both my mum and I, and is trying to guilt me into it. I do feel terrible for my little brother. Am I the butthole? Edit to add, my dad does have a second job that he works on the weekend, and his wife homeschools the boys and is a full-time caregiver for my brother. My dad's family disowned him when the affair came to light. He did get some help from his brother and sister, but they can only give so much. I do think I was his last option. His wife did not have a lot of family. Lastly, of course, I would feel bad if something happened to my brother. He's just a little kid, but I would want to help him with my own money, and I can only do that if I start a career debt-free. I also don't want to risk my own future. And there's some relevant comments included here, which is, make sure he does not have access to the account. And his OP replies that with, he does not have access, only mom does. They actually started saving when I was born. Dad stopped contributing completely when the twins were 5. In the original post, OP was voted not the butthole, which in my opinion she wouldn't be. But let's hop into the update. So after I called my mom, she left work early and picked me up from dad's house. She took me for coffee and I explained what happened. After talking a bit, she said I could either keep the fund as is and not give dad the money, or we can take the money that dad had contributed and give that back to him. I told her I wanted to give dad back the money he put in. After we finished our coffee, my mum withdrew the exact amount dad put in over the years. My mum also matched that amount and added it to give to dad. I waited in the car while she gave dad the money and he was upset because the money wasn't enough. Mum told him that is all he's going to get from her and threatened to take him to court if he and his wife keeps harassing me. This is probably the last update as I'm going low contact with Dad for now. Thank you everyone for the genuine support and the advice. That's what I say in this one. Your dad is clearly buttholing this and gets a solid. I stress and stuff, so I don't want to be too harsh because like he's worried about his son, but I still think he should get like a solid 5 or 6 out of 10 buttholes because you gave him back the money he contributed in, and your mum is such a generous woman. I mean, she waived child support in the first place, and then she also goes to give him the exact amount as well that he put in, so she matched that. So he actually got double back what he contributed, and he still isn't happy. He's still so ungrateful. I don't know, P. I'm also confused about these medical debts as well because I'm pretty sure that they should be covered under some sort of health program. Dialysis, as it's a permanent treatment. So I'm not sure how your dad got into so much debt. If he was on dialysis, isn't that covered under Medicaid? I don't know, that part seems fishy. But overall, it doesn't change the story. Your dad's still the butthole in this one. You know what I'm going to start? I'm going to start an angel rating. And I'm going to give your mum 8 out of 10 on the angel rating score. We're going to start an angel rating score and she's going to get 8 out of 10. Because she waived the child support, which is something that she didn't have to do. And I disagree with because I think OP, as a child, the father should have contributed to supporting her. Despite everything that's going on, he still has a duty of care to OP. You know, that doesn't stop when one child gets sick. So her doing that was exceptionally generous. And then also, when OP decided that she wanted to give the money back to Dad that he contributed to a college fund, her mum matched that from her own money, so the dad got double back to help with the treatment costs. And I can't, you know, what more of a good Samaritan can you be than that? 8 out of 10 angel rating. Our next story was originally posted in the True Off My Chest subreddit, and as a warning, it does involve the death of a spouse. I destroyed my fiance's dead ex-wife's photos in her antique horse collection, and my fiance doesn't know. And the original post was March 15th, 2023. So I've been keeping this for a couple of months. I, 26 female, have been with my fiance, Ale, 27 male, for 2 years. But I've known him when I was a freshman in high school, and he was a sophomore. He was with his deceased ex-wife Lorraine when they were in middle school. I always kinda had feelings for Ale, even when I was in a relationship with my ex-boyfriend from high school. We broke up, of course, but Ale has 2 kids. Basil, 8 male, and Birdie, 3 female. I love those kids as my own, and see them as my own. He was married to his deceased ex-wife Lorraine when she was 18 and he was 19. Had their son after they got married. Sadly, Lorraine passed away from childbirth with their daughter Birdie. I comforted him when he was grieving. After a year of her passing, we got into a relationship. He's the best partner I can ever ask for, and we are getting married in summer of July. Birdie sees me as her mother, and Basil sees me more as an aunt than a mum. I was always Auntie Coco, but my name is Celia. Basil does have a picture of Ale and him and Lorraine when she was 5 months pregnant with Birdie. He does not have a picture of us together as a family. He still misses his mum. I was kind of a little jealous of Lorraine, especially during high school. Sometimes I wish I was the birth mother of Basil and Birdie. I wished I'd had his kids first. Ale doesn't want any more kids biologically, because he told me he only wanted Lorraine to have his kids. He had a vasectomy. He told me he'd rather just adopt or use a sperm donor, which makes me upset. I felt so insecure about all this, thinking Lorraine is in the way. All of Ale's friends knew Lorraine in and out, since they all knew each other in middle school and had the same old friend group growing up all together. Especially Ale's best friend Jordan. He adored Lorraine, so did his wife Ruth, which is Lorraine's best friend. I know them, but I am not close to them. They all talk about Lorraine from time to time, about the things they used to do. They are the godparents of Basil and Birdie, so they're around a lot. I, however, didn't know Lorraine that much, but she was nice to me. It felt fake though, so I wasn't really a big fan of her, but respected her enough. I kinda felt like I was intruding Ale's beautiful family. I remember going through the attic and finding some of Lorraine's and Ale's belongings, with photos from middle school too before her passing. Also with Ale's old gifts that Lorraine given him, to Lorraine's gifts from Ale had given her. A lot of horses, as Lorraine grew up on a horse ranch and loved horses. Ale was keeping this for his kids to give them when they were older, to treasure their mother's stuff. I also found another box filled with Lorraine's collection of old vintage and antique stuff of horses and gifts from her friends, Ale's friends and family, and Ale's family. I got jealous as Ale was planning on giving this stuff of Lorraine's horse collection in gifts to Birdie. Ale has already given Birdie Lorraine's old stuffed zebra when she was a young child, and given Basil an old knife that belonged to Lorraine's grandfather. All I know is I wanted everything gone. When Ale took Basil and Birdie to Lorraine's parents' house for a few days, I stayed back because of work. I knew this was an opportunity to get rid of Lorraine's stuff and photos. So I took the knife and the stuffed zebra, all the photos of Lorraine in it, and her antique horse collection, and burned all the photos, threw her antique collection away, and destroyed some, cut open all the stuffed toys of Lorraine's and letters she wrote, destroyed every single thing of hers. I felt satisfied, knowing she wouldn't be a bother, and nothing to be jealous of anymore. I felt happy and not remorseful. When Ale and the kids came back, I pretended as if nothing happened and was just normal. It only took a few days when they noticed, especially Basil. He couldn't find his photo of him and his mother or the knife. He raised awareness of the disappearance of the stuff, which got Ale searching for the zebra, but it couldn't be found. We did move to a new house a few months after. Ale searched through the attic to pack stuff and noticed that only Lorraine's stuff were all gone. Her collection, childhood stuff, their pictures together, letters, gifts, just everything. He searched frantically for it. He did question me as he knew about my insecurities and jealousies of Lorraine, but I told him that I would never do anything like that. He believed me, thinking he left all her stuff back at the old house. Even to this day, he still doesn't know. Basil is, however, heartbroken, which got me feeling a bit sad. Lorraine's parents and family are very sad about it, as Ale did tell his friends and everyone. His family is sad about it, because they love Lorraine like a daughter. I wish they loved me like one, but I know I can't ever compare to her. Ale's friends are so sad about what happened. Everyone is sad, but they don't know a thing. Even Birdie is sad about the zebra, but that thing was old and gross, so I got her a new one. She doesn't love it like an old one, but she sleeps with it once in a while. I don't think I can ever tell Ale or anyone this, but feels good to lay it off my chest. Only person I really told were my two best friends, Mandy and Holly. Mandy knows Ale, but in high school they weren't really that close, but still hung out, and Holly didn't really like Ale that much. She only knows him because she dated his friend Maxwell in high school to college on and off, until Maxwell got married with a kid on the way. However, Mandy and Holly have told me what I did wasn't right. They won't tell anyone, so I feel safe knowing they won't tell Ale or any of his friends and family. Update June 28th, 2023. Well, to update you people calling me names and how my fiance does deserve better, you guys are right. The guilt hit me so hard. Seeing my kids all sad and devastated. Basil was so distraught about his grandfather's knife and his picture with his mom. He sometimes would break down crying because he always tell his dad and I, my mum is the prettiest lady, or my mum was the kindest lady. Birdie was still super sad because she thought she lost or misplaced Zipper, her mother's childhood stuffed zebra. She sometimes couldn't sleep without Zipper. She would still come to me to sleep. She would still come to sleep on me, as she sees me as her mom. Ale was upset thinking he left all his memories of him and Lorraine behind, and could never get them back. He thought Birdie would never know much about her mother, Lorraine, or didn't have any pictures of her mother, or give her the collection of antique horses. We'll never know the letters she wrote to Birdie and Basil, and for Basil never to receive any of his mother's old gifts. Basil really loved his mom, and he did resent me sometimes, saying I'm not his mother, or I will never replace her. He does say he loves me, of course, just not as a mom. I tried to be a mom for him, but that made him really resent me. I just feel really awful now, but I still don't tell them anyway. However, my best friend Mandy was the one that wanted me to tell Ale for the sake of him and the kids. She grew up with a stepmother who was resentful of her. She didn't want me to go down that path, She said that it's up to Ale and what he wants to do with our relationship, and that I really messed up and really dug myself into a really dark, deep hole. She says that if I love Ale and the kids as I do, then I need to tell him, or she would. I never told him. I was too scared. So after weeks of not telling, Mandy came over one day when I was visiting my parents and little sister, told Ale the whole thing, what I did and everything I destroyed. How I talked so badly about Lorraine when I came home. Mandy was there and looked over to Ale, who was fuming with so much anger. I'd never seen him like this before. We never had an argument before over the course of our relationship and friendship. This was the first. He screamed, yelled at me, "How dare you do that to the love of my life and the mother of my children?" I knew he wasn't over her and thought he loved me. I asked him if he ever did love me. He said, "I did, and I wanted to marry you until you ruined mine and my kids' lives forever. I don't anymore. We will never get those stuff back." I started crying so hard and asked Mandy why over and over. She didn't say anything. Ale was going off on me and broke up with me and told me to never get near me or his kids ever again. I told him, "What about Birdie? She calls me mama," and he said, "You were never her mother, just a sick person who wanted to seem like Lorraine never existed," and told me to get the hell out of his kid's life. After that I left and went to stay at my best friend Holly's place. Then what I learned a few days after, Ale told everyone, his family, his friends, his best friend Jordan, Lorraine's family and friends, and her best friend Ruth. I was getting messages left, right from all of them, telling me awful things, calling me names. Ruth texted me calling me a soulless crone who took her best friend's memories and life from her kids. That one really stung and got me to break down. Mandy even told me she will never look at me the same and questioned our friendship and hasn't contacted me since. A lot of our other friends dropped me, but a few are still with me. So here I am, at my best friend's place until I get back on my feet, with an ex-fiance who wants to put a restraining order on me. I am harassing his family and already caused enough life-damaging pain for his kids. His son Basil hates me because Ale told him. Birdie now wondering where I am probably. I don't know. His family hates me. I go along with his two older brothers and his parents. All his friends hate me, and most of my friends do too. I lost my fiance and my kids over my stupid jealousy. We're gonna hop into the comments of this one. This one comes from Captain Obvious 1916. Wow, this woman really doesn't understand the magnitude of what she did. She actually destroyed letters written from the mother to her children. There's something dead inside her. And I fully agree with that commenter. Like, how empty and cruel and just awful of a person do you have to be to destroy all the photos and the letters written to someone's children? That's a mother writing letters to her children so they know her when they grow up, so she can give them something, some last words to let them know how much she loved them and how proud she is of them. And OP destroyed that. That will never happen. Those kids will never get those words and know from their mother's own words how much she loved them. I really do hope that, obviously, the ex-fiance, the kid's dad, lets them know how much their mother loved them, for both of them. And I know from the story that he'll do that, but it's still very, very sad. I feel so sorry for those kids to lose that opportunity